Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring a seriously fascinating dimension of human psychology. We're looking at the idea that our sudden mood swings, or even those random flashes of motivation, might actually be guided by invisible neurological strings. So, let's dive right in. Okay, we've all been there, right? You're a confident, successful adult, but the minute you walk through the front door of your childhood home, boom, you suddenly feel 13 years old again. Why does that happen? Well, it's not magic, and you aren't actually regressing. Your brain is simply triggering an automatic emotional response without you even actively thinking about it. This is a perfect, everyday example of the phenomenon we're unpacking today.
And that brings us to the core theory here, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP, anchoring. An anchor is simply any stimulus that triggers a consistent internal response. You see, we navigate the world and learn about it by making automatic links and associations. When something is anchored in our neurology, we just react, no conscious thought required. And as you'll see, this automatic reaction can be incredibly beneficial or, well, deeply painful.
Basically, these anchors act as invisible neurological shortcuts, and they operate entirely state-dependently. What that means is our mind and our body work together inevitably to link a specific sensory input, like a sound or a touch, directly to an emotional state. The physical nerves associated with the external anchor connect straight to the very neurons holding that remembered feeling.
Section 1. The Science of Shortcuts. Let's look at why our brains actually build these invisible links.
We really need to understand why our neurophysiology builds these automatic associations in the first place. Now, you're probably already familiar with the roots of this theory, Ivan Pavlov's famous work with dogs back in the 1920s. Pavlov discovered classical conditioning by associating a neutral stimulus, like a ringing bell, with a biological response, which was salivation, just by pairing the bell with food. In fact, in the sources we're reviewing, one NLP expert even notes that their own dog gets excitedly anchored to the sound of the microwave ding. As humans, we start life loaded with unconditioned responses, and over time, our associative cortex links new stimuli to these basic states of pain, pleasure, fear, or anger.
And these shortcuts play out in our daily lives completely by accident. On the desirable side, just think of advertising. Car commercials often feature attractive models to anchor a feel-good state right to their product. Or think about a specific pop song that instantly transports you back to a really fun summer. But on the flip side, we have yucky states. Imagine you have a terrible grouchy day while wearing a specific pair of shoes. A week later, you put those same shoes on, and suddenly you feel grouchy for no apparent reason. Your unconscious mind literally linked the shoes to the mood. Crazy, right?
These invisible links happen across all our senses, what NLP calls the 5 representational systems. Visual anchors might be that automatic urge to hit the brakes at a red light. Auditory anchors could be the instant panic of a police siren or the comfort of a loved one's voice. Kinesthetic anchors are physical, like how the touch of velvet might vividly remind you of your grandmother. And olfactory and gustatory anchors, they are incredibly potent. The smell of fresh apple pie or the distinct taste of licorice can bring memories rushing back in an absolute instant.
Section 2. Anchors in the family. How invisible strings pull our personal dynamics.
So, we know the science and the senses involved. Now let's explore the practical impact, starting where these environments are often the strongest. People themselves act as massive emotional anchors. Think about a friend whose company you absolutely always enjoy. They listen to you, they validate you. Over time, those good feelings become firmly anchored just to the sight of their face. You literally light up when they walk in the room. Conversely, think of a highly critical relative. They belittle your efforts. Because of that repetition, your self-esteem might take an absolute nosedive the exact second you see their car pull into your driveway. Their mere presence has become an anchor for feelings of inadequacy.
Section 3. Career and Confidence Triggers. Navigating the Professional Landscape. Shifting over to the professional world, the research highlights that businesses utilizing NLP principles, specifically focusing on how people communicate and manage their internal states, can experience accelerated growth. A standard company might just see their growth plateau, but a company integrating these tools sees a continuously upward trajectory. And why is that? Because businesses are fundamentally driven by people, and NLP directly enhances people-to-people communication and state management. It's a total game changer.
To put that into perspective, consider the famous 7-38-55 rule by Albert Mariobian. In communication, the actual words we use only account for 7% of the impact. Tone makes up 38%, and body language is a staggering 55%. This proves that an overwhelming 93% of our communication relies on nonverbal cues. In the workplace, this means a manager's posture, a specific tone of voice, or a really subtle facial expression are incredibly powerful anchors that dictate the whole emotional climate of a team.
Another massive workplace application is how we handle pressure. By being aware of our internal anchors, professionals can actually reframe unresourceful states. Instead of letting pre-presentation anxiety anchor them to fear, they can cognitively reframe that specific stress response as a source of energy, literally a biological catalyst for action. It's about taking that exact same physiological arousal and consciously linking it to motivation rather than panic.
Section 4. Personal growth and motivation. Reprogramming your reality.
So how do experts suggest we deliberately manage these invisible strings rather than just being pulled around by them? Well, this introduces a really fascinating theory called stacking anchors. Instead of just having one memory linked to a trigger, you can deliberately link multiple different positive emotional states to the exact same anchor. Imagine taking a memory of feeling immensely strong, another of feeling deep joy, and another of profound calmness, and tying the whole shebang to a single physical gesture, like clenching your fist.
I absolutely love this metaphor from our sources. A stack anchor is like a cocktail made from your favorite ingredients. Each ingredient contributes its part, and together they create a powerful, harmonious whole. By stacking states like concentration, energy, and the pure joy of victory, athletes and professionals build this optimal, on-demand state of peak confidence.
But wait, what about those bad anchors we talked about earlier? The critical relative, or the shoes that make you grouchy? The literature describes a theoretical mechanism called collapsing anchors. This is basically the process of neutralizing a negative automatic response. Essentially, it involves firing off a highly potent positive anchor at the exact same time as a negative one. This forces the neurology to integrate the two and effectively wipes out the negative charge, leaving you with a preferable neutral state.
Ultimately, it all comes down to the idea summarized right here. Replacing unwanted feelings and thoughts with desirable ones is freedom indeed. And really, this is the core empowering message of this entire explainer. When you recognize that your mind is operating on these automatic loops, you stop being a victim of your own moods. That awareness is the absolute crucial first step toward true personal freedom and emotional intelligence.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from Pavlov's dogs to boardroom communication, and even the dynamics of our own living rooms. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. What invisible anchors are currently running your day-to-day life? Take a look around you today. Notice your sudden shifts in mood. What did you just see, hear, or smell? Once you start observing your own mind at work, I promise you, the world looks entirely different. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep observing and keep learning.